I mean,
Should be.
Marietta had a huge following.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nara would be a pretty good choice, I think.
Cool.
I mean,
We got 1 minute left.
Huge, in regards to emo,
Bigly in regards.
twinkly emo bands. They're one of like the biggest like modern emo bands of all time, in my opinion.
Sweet. And they're right out of the River Wards?
Nope, they went to Temple.
Ah.
Yeah.
Hello.
But now the drummer lives in like right down the street from me. I don't know about the others.
Can you not hear yourself back?
Only in one.
That headphone is just weird.
Here, grab.
No, I think I
No,
got it.
I think it. Oh, really?
Yeah, I got it.
30 seconds.
Okay.
That's fine.
Figure it out.
Figure it out.
And we're about to go live. Ten seconds. You're listening to WPPM LP Philadelphia. Good evening, everybody. You're listening to Spirit News Radio, your home for hyperlocal news in the communities of North Philadelphia. My name is Max Pulcini. I'm the managing editor and your host for the evening. And this song is called 22 by Nara. Tonight I'm joined by Patrick Clark, Steve Bonell, and Thomas Beck. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Doing great.
Doing okay.
Doing great. Yeah.
Doing
Just okay?
I had a bit of a rough weekend.
Oh, I'm sorry
What
to hear
happened?
that.
So I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a softball umpire,
I actually didn't
and
know that.
Yeah?
I've been doing that for a few years now, and a lot of the coaches on the coaches of the teams that I've been umping, they're really getting on my nerves. I don't know.
Are they parents or are they like...
Some of them are parents. Some of them have kids on the team, but some of them are just volunteers.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was one incident this week, and I ejected my first person.
Oh, wow.
That's
The
exciting.
3 years
Did
I've
you
been
get
doing.
to say you're
That's
out of
real.
here?
I did, but it didn't take. So I threw him out, and he refused to leave because we were on the field, and what happened was, I made a questionable call, and
At least you'll admit that.
yeah, it was questionable, but like I can't make I make
Yeah.
mistakes.
There are some
Well, isn't
that like just aren't gonna look right no matter what.
Right.
Isn't that the whole point of baseball, though? Like the human error possibility?
Yeah,
you
of
know?
course. And they expect me to get every single call right. I'm there by myself. These
Right.
girls are 9 years old, 10 years old, and I made a questionable call. The coaches on one of the teams started arguing with me. And as an umpire, the only person you have to report to is the head coach. You don't even have to acknowledge the assistant coaches. But the one assistant coach kept going on and on and on, and I told him to shut up. I probably could have I probably could have put it a little more nicely,
Yeah.
but I said shut up. So he said, "Don't tell me to shut up. I'll smack you in the mouth." And at that point,
So
I had to
that
throw
is
him out.
crying.
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
throw him out.
My question is, did you have a full on wind up? Did you like roll
No, it
around,
was
or
just from the shoulder right here. It was a very yeah.
A
So-
very distinct pointing. motion.
Yeah, go that way. But I threw him out, and he said no because he was on the sidewalk as
Uh-huh.
opposed to being on the bleachers next to the girls' bench, and there are rules about how far away a person has to be after they're ejected, but I
Right.
couldn't remember what they were, so I didn't want to
Convenient.
cause a stir, so I took no further action,
Ooh.
and I just left him there.
I think you should have pressed the issue.
I could have left.
Well,
if
you just wanted to get the game done,
Yeah,
right? You just wanted to get the heck out of there at this point.
yeah,
that's fair. But
yeah.
the
I just totally spoke for you. I'm sorry.
No, I really did not want to be there.
the thirst for justice in me just wanted you to really send that guy
Well,
out.
Oh
you-
my
you-
gosh,
You
yeah.
did report him, correct?
I did. Yeah, I reported
Okay.
him to the league, and hopefully,
Will you be following up as all good journalists should?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So hopefully,
What teams were it? Let's throw some people under the bus.
so it was Calvary versus Vogue,
Okay.
and Vogue was the offending team.
Classic Vogue,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, classic Vogue. So,
I don't know that place.
but yeah, and I've had similar instances. I haven't thrown anybody else out yet, but these coaches, they think that the most important thing is winning, and I understand competition is important, but
Right.
if the girls aren't having fun, if they're not safe, like what's the point of them being there?
Right.
And when they put competition and winning over those things, that's when I start to get a little
Skeeved off,
furious.
you know?
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, thank you for that story. That was really great.
Yeah.
Good
yeah.
stuff. Good stuff.
Speaking about safety and leaving the Beck realm of Northeast Philadelphia and
It's a nice
coming
transition, I like
down
this.
95 onto the River Wards area of the city, we want to talk about safety of not the softball variety, but the streets variety to kick off our show tonight. And to do so, we have resident streets correspondent Steve Bonellin. That is his official title.
Just own it now.
Just-
I'm completely owning it. Absolutely.
And if we look at this week's issue of Spirit of the River Wards, which is on newsstands today and for the rest of the week, you can see Steve's brand new feature on Safe Streets, and it's called Trouble Intersections. What is it? Read the subhead.
A meeting of bad driving and increasing population.
Yeah, and that's so true. So in this, Steve, you took a look at PennDOT put together a report of some of the most problematic, dangerous, troublesome intersections in the city of Philadelphia.
Correct, Max.
And we wanted to look at the River Wards ones.
Yeah, so actually, I'm going to give a shout out to Andrew Ortega of the East Kensington Neighbors Association. He pointed me to Lowenthal and Abrams, this law firm downtown that did this analysis of 2015 PennDOT data. So I just looked at it and I was like, okay, let me localize it and see what intersections are of interest to the River Wards.
All right.
So 3 of the ones that popped up right away, just given, how they used the formula and what basically a higher score was a more dangerous intersection. I deduced East North and Frankfurt, Lehigh and Armengo, and 2nd and Spring Garden. So those are the 3 I kind of zoned in on and talked to residents near or at those intersections about how bad these spots really
Right.
are.
So let's break it down. Let's start one by one. Which one do you want to start with? The
Let's
most
go,
problematic or the
let's-
least?
Let's go least to worst.
I'm
That's-
into it.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the least problematic?
Definitely from what I talked about or what I reported, it was East North and Frankfurt, I'd
All right,
say.
yeah. And for those of you listening, that's the former Rocket Cat Cafe on the one corner. You got the Nut Hut Saloon on the other.
Dan's Meats,
Dan's
the deli
Meats.
that's been there forever.
And then you have the car wash.
Yeah, correct. So residents I talked to there said that Frankfurt and Norris itself isn't that bad. They argued that Frankfurt and Girard, further south,
Yeah.
given more traffic,
Yeah.
stop signs,
The
you
new
know,
stop sign.
activity, just it's a worse spot than Norris, just given. People actually, for whatever reason, there are less crashes at Frankfurt and Norris. It was interesting, though, one of the people I talked to at a local motorcycle shop, pretty much right there, said one of the problems at Norris is that over the past year, bus drivers and trucks have, turned and knocked out some of the stoplights there. So it's, not a safety thing. It's just a cost thing that
Right.
you're costing the city money because you're taking out infrastructure.
Is that why you
Yeah.
think it made the list?
No, because a thing that was interesting, I think, caused this story to turn out the way it did was this is 2015 data.
Okay.
So it is not old, but relatively old to what people remember when I was talking with them.
Right.
So I think that did factor into why people think that Norris and Frankfurt isn't as bad. I mean, people definitely acknowledge that Frankfurt, as I've talked to city officials and residents, that it's pretty much a highway.
Yes.
It used to be a highway, and therefore any intersection along Frankfurt could turn into a problem section if people, just simply don't know how to drive or just, it gets too busy on that,
Blame it on the
avenue.
Jersey drivers.
Oh, okay, yeah. But
Shout out to Camden County.
yeah, definitely. From the 3 I talked about, this seemed like the least trouble intersection for sure.
Yeah, and you know we had one of the friends of the Spirit, Roman Blazik, come in this afternoon, and he had glowing reviews for the story, and he said, but he's Norris in Frankfurt, you know, and we totally agree.
And he's from Fishtown, or at least close
Yeah,
by, so
born and raised Fishtown.
So he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting perspective to have him come in today and kind of give his 2 cents. Which obviously that's kind of what this story was, is allowing people from the neighborhood to give their 2 cents on what do you think a bad spot is driving, or just where 2 roads meet.
Yeah.
What are the worst spots? So.
Yeah. Now, one more question about the study before we go on to the next intersection. Was this just a 1-year thing, or is this something that like is a regular report that they keep up
The
with?
law firm, I did not honestly look. I'm guessing this was a one-off thing where PennDOT collects data every year, crash data every year,
Yeah.
and we'll get to this, in a minute. But Gus Shearbaum, who's a city official I've talked to about street safety, he says his department continuously looks at police and PennDOT data and analyzes that to see where the trouble spots are.
Right.
So this law firm just decided to do a formulaic thing, and they mapped it all out, and it's very interesting, interactive. You can scroll through it. But yeah, from as far as I know, this is just a one-time thing.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Cool. So moving on to the next intersection, what do we got?
Second and Spring Garden, so no libs.
Second and Spring Garden, that is right where the Doughboy is. You
Yeah.
have a sushi place, you have Penn Herb, and you have
The
City Fitness.
the SEPTA station's not that far away
right,
too.
absolutely. The new and beautifully lit Spring Garden stop on the L.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with that intersection?
Yeah, again, I actually caught up with people in a nearby park, and they said that a lot of the problems when it comes to Northern Liberties is further north when you get into more residential areas.
No, yeah, and you know, I can certainly say that I can vouch for that and say that people fly up 5th Street, 3rd Street all the time. I mean, shout out to Mike Kanisko, another Spirit News reporter who just got into a gnarly accident and survived.
yeah.
But that was right there. I think that was on 3rd Street with a dude just flying up.
T-boned him, yeah.
T-boned him. And
Didn't just blew the stop sign, didn't he?
yeah, and probably several stop signs considering how fast he was going.
Yeah.
You know, thankfully, Mike only he got out of there with just a couple broken ribs. His girlfriend's okay, just with a concussion, but it's insane. So Second and Spring Garden, what were the issues there?
It seems like it's a busier intersection just because of the size of it. Spring Garden's a pretty busy, street as it is, and I know coming south on Second, people maybe will want to fly to that because they're getting so close to Cal Hill or 95. It's in that region. So, and it's near 95 or, over to the east anyway.
Right.
So it's just a place that's leading into a lot of busy, higher speed, roads.
Right.
But going back to the more residential problems that people I talked to kind of identified, Paula Gansky's lived in the Northern Liberties for nearly 30 years, and she gave me an anecdote about how she got off at 5th Street, and I think around Poplar or somewhere, and she was getting off the bus, and she'll get off, and she goes to cross the street, and people will, not stop, or, she'll have to, consciously think about, like you're saying, people blowing through stop signs. So it seems with this increasing development, there's also the theme of more foot traffic. So it's not just, vehicle-on-vehicle collisions, it's pedestrian-related accidents as well that are becoming an issue in what is a very Northern Liberties, obviously, a very developing, hot neighborhood right now. So
every square foot is getting
Yes.
some sort of condo built on it.
yes.
The people are getting hotter, and that's how you know it's really getting to be a more expensive neighborhood. Every time I go there.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, talking about 5th and Poplar, I mean, I know that intersection really well. Got a couple friends who live right there, and I know that they just put speed cushions, which are not speed bumps, but rather like mini speed bumps to encourage people to go down or to drive down slower, or I suppose drive up slower. But I mean, even those have caused issues of their own.
Yeah,
People are just kind of evading them.
I was just about to say that, Max. Gansky told me that they're not really good speed bumps. They're not built in the road, so you can really avoid them, or it's not going to really, if you speed over it, it's not going to really destroy your car, perhaps. It's really a cheap fix, for lack of a better term, at least in my opinion.
You're an avid cyclist. I know Pat's an avid cyclist.
Yeah.
Going up 5th Street when there's a lot of cars driving down that is really dangerous because there's parking on either side, so there's no real shoulder or bike lane for us to cyclists to hang out in.
Mm-hmm.
And you have these folks who are, weaving between the speed cushions. They're getting really close to just knocking cyclists off their bikes, especially when it's at night. People are coming home from work. They just got off of crazy traffic on 95. They're speeding up. Not that that's an excuse, but it's a matter of fact. So yeah, I mean that's there's such a mess when it comes to driving in Northern Liberty.
Those streets are just so narrow as it is.
So
and that's what
narrow.
adds to the problem.
I was going up 3rd Street today, and they're doing some construction, obviously condos, and sidewalks on both sides are completely closed. So you have pedestrians walking.
Yeah, I was in the car. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
like,
you were with me, yeah.
This guy's walking down the street. And you're like, what the heck is he doing? And I told you there's no sidewalk.
So it's absolutely insane, and that's such a safety issue. And I wish that there was some more oversight on permits that are going up and being released to people who are doing construction work.
And people are always posting in Facebook pages about like, yep, there's no sidewalks for us to walk on. There is legitimate complaints about the irresponsible development,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want everybody to dress up in reflective clothing, I don't know what the right solution is.
I mean, I do that anyway.
Your smile is reflective, Pat.
Oh,
Look at those
sweet.
pearly whites.
Stop.
So let's go on to the last intersection.
This is the clear-cut one that residents actually agreed. Lehigh and Armengo.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty much 2 highways. But what residents are really, and people who live in Port Richmond because it's on that border, are really concerned about is that you have the St. Anne's School right around the corner, and then you have the playground literally
Siona
right
Rec.
on the corner. And I just got a really interesting anecdote from Jimmy Trindle, who I was talking to actually, Amanda Yost, who's like, oh yeah, my buddy got into a car crash there last year in June. And she literally called him up, and he just told me about how he was parked at Lehigh on Armengo facing south, and he got hit with so much force at a red light that he flew across the intersection from like a standstill into the fence at the playground.
Whoa.
And he said if it weren't 8 o'clock on a Sunday, he probably would have been dead because Lehigh's a busy street.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Especially coming from the west.
Yeah.
In terms of direction, what I've witnessed, because I've been around that intersection, the only like place that is like if you're turning east onto Lehigh, or going in that direction, it becomes a little less traffic. But
Yeah.
all the other avenues, I mean, I was talking to a guy named Emery who lives in an apartment right by there, and he's like, I can barely even cross the street. It's too dangerous to even cross the street on
Yeah.
foot. It's just it's huge. First of all, it's definitely a sprawling intersection, but given it's like 2 highways pretty much, people are speeding through it. And it's just, Amanda Yost said, we need to have a crossing guard here all the time, just for kids' safety.
Yeah.
Because
That's a
I
very
definitely,
used wreck.
I don't walk across when I cross the street. I run because like you literally don't like, if people are really want to turn and don't like have any patience because they're on a quick enough street already that they just want to get where they're going. And I don't put because I'm going to lose. Pedestrian versus the car, 11 times out of 10 is going to lose that battle. So
Good math.
this was the clear cut of the 3 that residents said, yeah, this is a bad intersection.
Yeah, that's another one. People are flying, trying to make those lights before they change, because there is so many turning signals that if you miss the red light, then you're going to have to sit for a minute. One of my gripes with that intersection, another personal anecdote, is I do a lot of my shopping down the Aramingo shopping district, right? And when I'm coming back down Aramingo toward Fishtown, I make that right turn onto Lehigh, and there's a little like yield area where you pull off and.
This is like at the roundabout spot, or is it different?
No, this is different. This is right at Aramingo and Lehigh, and you pull off, and there's so many times where it's nighttime and you have to go under the overpass where the Conrail trains are, and you can't see the pedestrians walking down, or even worse, to throw it back onto the cyclists and say it's all their fault. Sometimes you'll have cyclists, especially older, less experienced city cyclists, who are riding on the wrong way on the bike lane, and you can't see them, so you're turning on, and it's not even so much an issue when I'm driving, but I see it happening where people are flying onto that yield area. They're not yielding. They're trying to beat the people who are going east down Lehigh to go further into Kensington, and it's a mess. It's really dangerous, and you see it so many times. I have seen police officers posted up there, where you know when they see something really egregious, it's kind of like a speed trap. But yeah, I mean it's certainly problematic, and I can see why that would be the resounding yes, we agree with this report. This place is kind of dangerous.
One thing I want to add as a side here, Max, is that I did, as I mentioned earlier, talk to Gus Shearbaum, and he said with all three of these intersections, they've taken steps, excuse me, to improve these, whether it be like new paint or like retiming the signals and whatnot. And I think what he mentioned that stood out to me is that the complaints that are coming in from people with these intersections, they need to take it into account with the data and say, you know, if obviously they're drunk drivers, they can't factor that into safety like engineering, because that's pretty much 100% the driver.
Yeah.
That's human error. So he needs to. He emphasized that it's important to consider how valid the complaints are in terms of, are these actual engineering issues,
right,
or is it just, as our subtitle suggests, bad driving?
Right.
And that's another, factor, this whole, wide, three, crazy armed monster. I'm trying to say something here, but just this monster of an issue.
Right.
Right.
I mean, do you guys have any other intersections that you think are especially problematic? What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I think that Front and Palmer is kind of bad. I mean,
Oh,
not
yeah.
to that degree
Yeah.
as
Certainly.
these other ones.
Well, because
but-
you have those weird turn lanes.
Well, yeah, the weird turn lanes. People are always cutting into the turn lanes because they don't know it's a turn lane,
Yeah.
or maybe they do and they just don't care. And there's no stop signs on Front Street.
Right.
And there's that stretch from like Berks to Cecil B. Moore. You can just fly down that. I mean, I do it myself sometimes.
And it's another
Like-
school zone. There's a
and it's
common
another
theme
school
here.
zone. Yeah, there's no stop sign for Front Street. It's only a stop sign for Palmer. And so, and now with Evil Genius, there's people parked up on the sidewalk. It's impossible. It's even worse because it's impossible to see if any oncoming cars are coming.
And a lot
So-
more drunk humans.
a lot more drunk humans. I think that intersection is probably it for me.
What do you think, Beck?
Well, I'm not totally familiar with the riverwards and the.
Because
the-
you're not our streets correspondent.
No, I'm not.
That's Steve's job.
Yeah, that's Steve. But as I've said a few times, I am from the Northeast. I'll be the Northeast liaison.
I like that title.
Yeah. And just anywhere on the boulevard in the Northeast is terrible.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just awful.
And Steve, we were talking about the report, and you said that I think Roosevelt Boulevard was the
Yeah,
one
Matt
that comes
Rubin.
up most.
Yeah, Matt Rubin had mentioned,
Who's the president of the Northern Liberties Neighborhood
Thank you.
Association.
Yeah, he had mentioned, it's hard to determine Second and Spring Garden. This is on the list when the Roosevelt Boulevard appears multiple times on the list.
Yeah, there's a few intersections. I think it's Grant and the Boulevard and Red Line and the Boulevard, and I was told that at one point they were respectively the first and second most dangerous intersections in the entire country.
Wow.
I do remember
Have you
seeing
heard that
that.
before?
I've heard that.
Yeah, I mean they have
buy
they have red light cameras there now, so it's not as big an issue. And
Yeah.
I've never had a problem there, but I was always afraid to go up that way because they used to be very dangerous. But yeah, and they've also added lights along the boulevard where pedestrians can cross, but
Right.
nobody uses them. People are just crossing wherever they want. So Roosevelt Boulevard's a mess.
Yeah, I never got about the boulevard is like why they encourage so much lane switching into those like partitioned lanes that are like in between like a grassy medium. You know what I'm talking about?
You mean the turn lanes?
Yeah, but like I follow my GPS a lot when I'm in the Northeast because it is strange territory for me. And like there's so many times where I'm like I'm in one side and it asks me to get into like the middle lane. And then
the crossover.
exactly,
Yeah,
and then I need to get back over into the right
Yeah.
in order to like turn onto Red Lion to get the Bustleton Ave, and it's like
Well,
it's a pain in the butt.
if you know you're going to be making a left off the boulevard, just stay in the middle lanes. If you know you're going to be making a right, just stay in the right hand
There
lanes.
it
That's
is.
that's my rule of thumb.
So don't
Yeah.
listen to Google.
Yeah.
Never.
No.
Maybe not never.
Well, don't listen to your GPS when you're in the Northeast. Yeah.
All right, you heard it from Tom Beck. GPS equals fake news.
Yes.
All right.
Steve, do you have any
You know
trouble
what?
intersections?
Biking on Girard is just an awful idea, but I do it
Yes.
because it's the most
was
direct way to
gonna-
the
I
office.
was gonna throw some
But-
shade at you with that when you're
Uh,
talking about safety.
Front and Girard is an awful intersection because you're coming down front and it's just a hodgepodge of everything. You got the trolley, you got Uber's probably in that because of the busy spot. You probably have a billion drivers, and it's just weird because like you're still under the L, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean
spot.
there's the pillar. I mean there's the
pillars in the way. Yeah,
so-
That whole area is like made out of gravel with how much construction.
Yeah.
they've
and
been
that
doing.
too. That's been a pain in the butt.
Well, and you know, Pat and I have both scolded you, Steve, because you ride your bike on Girard, and there's no protected bike lane. There's no shoulder.
It's
for that.
It's
matter.
probably the worst street to bike in on the city.
pretty bad idea. I usually use Cecil B. Moore as my cut through.
Yeah.
To get across, and then you know I stick to the arterial roads. Sixth Street is a favorite of mine
Yeah,
to
it's a
get
good
south. Fifth is a favorite of mine to get north. You know, 15th and 16th again
Look,
on the other side of
I'm
Broad.
just a wizard on the bike. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. I mean, one of the intersections that I think is a major pain is the stretch of North American Street, where it's like an old freight 6-lane highway type thing.
It is pretty much it's pretty much a highway with how wide it is. it
Yeah,
seems.
and I mean it's a pain because not only are there rail ties, but people because of how wide it is, they don't really stop at stop signs.
Yep.
And I recently, you know, I alluded to this a couple weeks ago. I got hit by a SEPTA bus that blew a stop sign and hit me on North American Street, crossing over my favorite cut over street, which is Cecil B. Moore, as I just said.
Yeah.
So now that intersection is forever ruined, for me at least. So I think that one's a major pain. Obviously Frankfurt and Girard, and now if you added to that Frankfurt, Girard, Thompson, Shakamaxon area,
Oh man.
where they added
I
that
avoid
stop
that.
sign. And so like,
Uh,
Girard and Frankfurt are both streets that I just avoid riding my bike on and trying to drive on as much as possible, just because then you have people who are riding their bikes and people just driving like total maniacs. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many problematic intersections.
it's just the price you pay with living in the city, it seems.
Right. I just am really surprised that other intersections didn't show up. You know, we've been talking about the possible roundabout at the intersection of York, Trenton, and Frankfurt for a couple weeks now, and you know that wasn't on that report.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with talking to residents. You can do as much formulaic stuff as you want, but when it comes down to it, it's the eye test and
Right.
what people say.
Right.
And sometimes there are near accidents that people are like, "Wow, like one more time that happens, it's going to be really bad." So that's what I liked about the stories. I was on the ground talking to people who live in the neighborhood, who have the experience of living in these developing spots for years and years, and therefore they have a certain degree of credibility because they walk these streets, drive these streets
Right.
on a daily basis. So
Yeah, you guys can check out that story, Trouble Intersections, right on our website, www.spiritnews.org. You can also check it out in print. It is our cover story in this week's issue of Spirit of the River Wards. Be sure to check them out. These papers move hot, folks. People love this stuff, so pick it up while you still can. And with that, we will be moving on to our next segment, which is our AccuReggie weather report. Let's see what Reg has got cooking up in this week's.
AccuReggie of the Spirit News here to bring you the weather. Let's dive right into it. Last week was a little odd. We had some good days and then some terrible, awful days like Tuesday where it was cloudy, drizzly, and rainy at times, and temperatures were stuck in the 60s and even in the 50s. Felt downright brrr for June, but that is going to be long gone this week. I have good news, plenty of good news this week for you. I have so much good news that's actually going to turn into a little bit of bad news. So let's take a look. Thursday, tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be beautiful. Temperatures are going to be in the 70s. Plenty of sunshine. There will be some clouds here and there, so it's not going to be crystal clear, picture perfect, but it's going to be very nice and low humidity. Then on Friday is when we start to see glimmers of a warm-up. Temperatures get to about normal for this time of year, which is 81 degrees, so temperatures get to the 80s. Feels like we haven't been in the 80s for a while, but we do make it there on Friday. It's even warmer, a little bit of humidity, feels like almost like summer. Saturday, though, is when it really does feel like summer. We're in the middle 80s, plenty of sunshine. I can't rule out a shower between Friday and Saturday. Looks very minor, but just as a little FYI there. Other than that, this week is just about all dry. So Saturday, warm, middle 80s, and then on Sunday, we begin a heat wave, our second heat wave of the season. And this is what I said, so much heat, so much nice weather, it actually is going to turn a little bad because it's going to be downright hot and humid for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Sunday, temperatures to 90 degrees. At nighttime, we might not even get into the 60s, so we could stay in the 70s, which means turn your air conditioners on. Monday, 94 degrees, lows only into the middle 70s, and then Tuesday, the same thing as Monday, 94 degrees. So get ready for a hot stretch of weather, but we are gonna get out of the rainy, dreary, cool weather pattern that we've been stuck in. We're gonna get a reprieve from that. So enjoy it. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy the warmth. And just relax. It is going to be a nice week. So that's the weather, and I will keep you updated on the heat wave coming your way as the week progresses. That's all for now, folks. Talk to you soon.
And thank you to AccuReggie for his weekly weather report. You can find AccuReggie on Facebook, ACCU-Reggie, and on Twitter at AccuReggie. AccuReggie also commandeers the Spirit News Twitter every morning for our morning weather update. So follow us at the Spirit News on Twitter. This weekend is going to be a hot one. You guys got anything fun planned?
Put my air conditioner in.
Well, there you go.
So,
it's time for that.
Yeah.
I'm taking photos of a kickball tournament, so
that's
I'm
fun.
gonna be outside.
That's fun. I know I'll be checking out the Fishtown Festival, the little beer festival.
Join you over there.
Sure, hope so.
I am a fan of beer, so
beer and hot weather does go hand in hand.
It does.
So and you know what the best part of that festival is?
What?
They shut down the Frankfurt and Girard intersection,
making everything safer.
Everything safe. Open streets. I love it. So moving on to our next segment, we have a story out of the Penn's Garden coverage area. I know that both Pat and Steve had a chance to cover a new mural over by Crime and Punishment Brewery in Brewerytown. So what's the skinny, guys? I can't believe I just said that. What? Give me the deets.
The hot scoop.
Yeah, I mean, Pat, I'll let you take the lead. You obviously shot the story, so just set the scene, what you kind of saw visually, I guess.
You mean at the mural or at the
both?
event?
Yeah, at the event and the mural too.
Yeah, it was. I think they got some chill folks over there in Brewerytown. It was pretty low key, but there was a nice little projector running some footage of Philip Adams, one of his previous murals that he did for the Industrious Light Industrious Light series.
Yeah.
It's like a series showing kind of dedicated to the history of neighborhoods and their previous industry. He did a mural on the Ortlieb's.
Correct.
The old Ortlieb's building, showing the old, all the old equipment and
how
everything.
They used to make beer there. Yeah,
an old silhouette, and it's pretty cool. There's kind of a similar thing going on in Brewerytown, at 31st and Master Streets. Adams is doing a new mural he's working on right now. That's kind of going to be an homage to the history of Brewerytown.
Yeah.
Across from the former Red Bell Brewing Company.
Yeah, I was going to say,
building.
I misspoke. It wasn't near Crime and Punishment. Crime
It's a
and
couple
Punishment
blocks
just co-hosted the mural.
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
So really quick, the guy, he's the one who did the Ortlieb's mural, the one that is now covered up because of condos being built.
I forgot about that.
I honestly forgot about that too.
I mean,
I never really go around there.
And later on, I want to talk about some of our favorite murals, but I'm just going to jump the gun.
They're fighting that though, right? They're trying to
what are you
uncover
gonna fight?
it. I mean,
those condos are built and they're $500,000. I mean, I'm going to jump the gun a little bit really quick, and I was going to mention my favorite mural in the city is the Shepherd Ferry one, right on Frankfurt and Girard. I love to hate that intersection. And that's another one that's going to get covered up once they build the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
Well, so then the only people who can enjoy that mural are those who are in the hotel room with windows facing out that way.
I mean, isn't that kind of a microcosm of Shepard Fairey's career?
That and just like, how neighborhoods are going in Philadelphia, where, a lot of these neighborhoods were once claimed by the artists and now they're getting forced out by the developers, and now everyone needs to buy these $500,000 condos and several $1 million hotels.
Okay, but
now I'm just getting angry.
To play the hopeful devil's advocate, doesn't this just create a new canvas?
Wow, that was poetic, dude.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Let's just hope that the people who own these properties are cool enough to...
Probably not, but eventually when they get tired of living in the city and they move out to the main line again, we'll
there's hope.
Reclaim it,
So let's get back to this Brewerytown mural.
Yeah. Steve, do you want to...
I'll just read. I talked to Adams, really chill guy. He, has obviously done other similar murals before. A quote about how he kind of was inspired for this one. He said, "I think one of the things that really just inspired it all is this idea of, quote, history never repeats itself, but it rhymes. Philadelphia was the epicenter of brewing for a long time, the first lager in the United States. Even right here in Brewerytown is 11 plus breweries at once 3 blocks away and produced half the city's booze. It was massive, and then Prohibition hit. So particularly Brewerytown, you had a bunch of breweries churning out a bunch of alcohol. It's another example of, how in these now developing neighborhoods, they used to be the epicenter of just a lot of economic output and just industry.
Yeah.
Whether it be, manufacturing to booze. And I think one of the coolest things about this, and Pat had mentioned this, is that it's right. The new mural's right down the street from a building, the Red Bell Brewing Company. It dates back to the 1870s, and just like, it'd be one of those things that'd be cool to just like walk around inside and just see like what it looks like.
Well, I'm pretty sure Conrad Benner of Streets Department had a chance to get in there and do one of his very awesome photo shoots from inside of Red Bell. So you all should check that out. Conrad is a friend of the Spirit, and we support the Streets Department. But yeah, I mean, there are some opportunities for urban exploring.
Yeah. And kind of just stepping back and looking at the whole event Friday as a whole, the mural itself was kind of the centerpiece of just bringing together community, the mural arts, Crime and Punishment, and local bands. It's the typical like feel-good community event. Mike Wambolt, who's one of the owners there, was even playing keyboard later on for one of the artists. So
tickling the ivories.
Yeah. I love that phrase. But he, it just goes to show that it's the result of good community collaboration. I think, that's worthwhile, especially, seeing a beautiful piece of artwork being developed in what is now a revitalized neighborhood. Definitely.
Certainly. What do you guys, I mean, I just ruined my little bit here, but with talking about our favorite murals in the city, do you guys have any other particular murals? Not necessarily even in the River Wards, but I'll start with one in the River Wards, the giant pigeon next to Tandor on Front Street.
That one. That's one of my favorites.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I think my favorite though, it's really cheesy, but I'm really kind of a sucker for the love letters on the L in West Philly.
Yeah.
I always enjoy seeing those.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
I really like the Wilt Chamberlain mural. It's on off race near 10th, and it's just plastered on this random building, and it's an older mural because it doesn't even have mural arts or anything on it, and it's just Wilt, showing multiple pictures of him playing, and it's a quote from his sister about how at Overbrook they called up her first, and she said she was so glad they did that because when they called her brother's name up, the whole gym shook with it's just a really good quote describing how much he meant to the city. And it was then that she knew, I think Barbara is her name, that she knew that he was going to be something special. I just really like it because it's a really powerful.
She was right.
And being a history minor, I love that powerful quote combined with just obviously beautiful artwork. It's just simple but really well done.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think, Beck?
The one that comes immediately to mind is the mural at Broad and Spring Garden. I know there is a name for it. I'm not sure what it is,
on the mural lofts.
Yeah, on the mural lofts building. There's a young black woman that dominates the mural. It's really well done, and
it's just enormous too. That's
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
like
it's
really
huge.
impressive to me.
The
It's
scope
so
is
big.
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I went to school down there, so I saw it pretty much every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably my favorite.
One of my favorite things to bring up to any time I have family visiting town is to always mention how Philadelphia has more public art than any other city in the world, and how we're well known for that. And I think it's just so cool how we have this mural arts program, which was spawned from the Anti-Graffiti Network. I mean, talk about like what a smart like social plan. Like let's take the people who are doing these ugly street tags and give them actual paint and an actual canvas, that canvas being the side of a giant, wall. It's just really cool how that's, come to be. And, major props to Jane Golden, who's the director of mural arts. She's an amazing woman who really does amazing work for the city of Philadelphia. And talk about passionate.
Oh,
She's one of the most
absolutely.
passionate women I've ever encountered in my life.
Yeah. She's so passionate that she fainted while talking at the opening of Eakins Oval Garden last summer. But she took it really well. Everyone was like very doting, and she was like up and walking around like 5 minutes later.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's a great woman.
Yeah, so everybody should go check out this new mural, 31st and Master Streets. It's a bit of a hike. It's right there in Brewery Town, right on the edge of Strawberry Mansion, Sharswood area. So check it out. It's Philip Adams, and it's a really cool one to check it out. So we're gonna move on to our next segment of the night, which is gonna be a quickie. We've been keeping our readers informed about the flag lot drama in Fishtown. This is 1323 R East Montgomery. So give us the quick recap and update.
Yeah. So right now, I last reported that L&M Real Estate Development is appealing the ZBA's decision to not grant them a variance. Excuse me. Right now, it's just kind of the waiting game. I was able to get a copy of the appeal from Hal Shermer, who's the lawyer representing the neighbors on the block. I reached out to L&M about why they want to appeal. In the past, they didn't comment. They still declined to comment. Leo Mulvihill, who's the lawyer representing them, said he's still preparing his brief. Basically, the appeal says that this won't harm infrastructure. This won't harm like anything substantial. I'm sure neighbors, as they have, disagree with that.
Absolutely.
So that's the main. It's just a really divided issue. And right now, we're just playing the waiting game. One of the interesting things is that the agreement of sale will include with the appeal, and the one name that pops up as the seller is Kevin Baird. And Leo said he didn't prepare the agreement of sale, but he said that Baird might have a ownership share in it. But the property is owned by a couple in Cavanaugh, Cavanaughs who live in Cumberland County, New Jersey. So I wasn't able to get to the bottom of that, honestly. But honestly, Shermer, the attorney for the neighbors, doesn't think anything nefarious is going on. It's just bad paperwork, he thinks.
Right.
But I think it's just important to get it out there, like what the appeal is. And right now, like I said, we're just playing the waiting game to see. It's going to go to the city's court of common pleas, and that's what the next step is, to see, as Leo finishes his brief, what he will argue and what will transpire from there. So
they really want to build these condos.
Yeah, I mean, it's
or what houses? What does the appeal say now?
It's 6 dwellings. Ta has reported on it along with me, but I definitely see, and people, Rich Levins, who I've talked to, he's like being the voice for the neighbors, said, we don't mind responsible development, just it has to be responsible.
Absolutely.
So it just shows it's one of those zoning stories that is really divided, and people care very much about it. So
zoning dividing folks. Who would have ever heard of that before?
Good one. Good one, Max.
What do you think? What do you think is going to happen if you were a betting man, which I know you're not?
I tried to get Hal Shermer to say, so you're confident, because he had told me that, yeah, it's really nice when they've laid the FNA, Fishtown Neighbors Association neighbors have laid a really solid foundation. They know their stuff. But he wouldn't err on saying, I'm confident that this is going to be, stay put, that the ZBA's decision is going to be upheld. If I had to bet, I think, it's going to be really hard, especially since the neighbors entered a motion, be involved in this. I'd be really surprised if they overturned it, but then again, I've been wrong a billion times as a reporter. So we'll
happens.
see. So
All right. Well, I'm really eager to see how this whole thing plays out.
yeah,
and if
it's been
these
really
things
interesting
ever
to
get
follow.
built.
This started in January,
Yeah.
so that just gives you a scope of how crazy this
6
has been.
long months.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and all right, so we'll be moving on to our last news segment of the night before we hit up to Pat's picks and some local music. So one of my favorite public spaces in Philadelphia is celebrating a facelift next week on Flag Day. On June 14th at noon, a dedication ceremony will cap a 2-year journey at Penn Treaty Park. That has seen an old flood-prone playground revamped into a new one. It's going to be ADA accessible, and it's going to be high and dry. It's going to be really nice. New crown. Well, I guess it won't be the crown jewel of Penn Treaty. I guess that's the picture of the sculpture of the actual Penn Treaty happening. But it's going to be a really nice place, public space for kids to come out and play. On Flag Day, the Lenni Lenape tribe, which historically lived there, they're the ones who signed the treaty with William Penn. They're going to have spiritual representation come and perform a ritual at the dedication, and 500 commemorative coins emblazoned with the Penn Treaty wampum will be handed out. A turtle sculpture has been brought into the park as well to commemorate the historical link between the park and the native people who used to live in this area. We reported that Parks and Rec helped pay for the $500,000 project, along with Councilman Mark Squilla of the 1st District, the Pennsylvania Department of Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and PICO. And one of the driving community forces behind this has been AJ Thompson, who's the president of the Friends of Penn Treaty Park, and he told Spirit News, having grown up around here, it's nice to see high level investment. He went on to explain why Penn Treaty is great, and I agree with him in all these cases. I mean, you can just go fishing, you can enjoy the waterfront. There's just a huge lawn for you to exercise on, tons of really cool events. Kite festival, you have River City Festival, a lot of cool stuff goes on around there. And like I mentioned before, it's going to be wheelchair accessible, so now all children can come and play. So that's pretty cool. You guys ever hang out at Penn Treaty?
Oh yeah, it's a great park.
Yeah,
Great
Very
park.
nice.
I've never been there.
that's sad.
What? You?
I'm gonna,
I couldn't even go there.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
sign a story to you just to hang out there one day.
Okay, all right.
It's a nice experience.
It's an awesome place. Also, Beck, what's your favorite park in Philadelphia? And don't say Rittenhouse or Fairmount.
Okay, well,
Those aren't your choices.
I'm gonna have to take you guys back up into the Northeast with me.
Here we go
Probably
again.
Mayfair Rec, which is on St. Vincent Street. It's a really nice park there, and I think it's where the Holy Terrors play. If you're familiar with them.
No clue what you're talking about.
Okay, well, it's a nice park. Trust me.
Nice. What do you think, Pat?
I'm a big fan of I don't know the name of it, but there's this mysterious park that I always stumbled upon. I did a lot of walking around the city a couple summers ago, and I would always end up at this park, and it was south of Fairmount. It's like in that weird in-between area right before 676, south of Fairmount. And someone listening might know, but I don't know the name. It's just a nice little park, not too many people, really nice view of the skyline. I think it's around 18th or 17th Street.
I think I know what you're talking
be a
about.
little
Is
bit
there like an
further
old
west.
school there that they converted
Yeah.
into apartment? I
I
know
think so,
exactly
yeah.
what you're talking about. That place is cool.
It's a great little park, yeah.
There's an even smaller little park just south there. I think it's on Poplar, near that weird ridge area. I think it might be called so and so's little park. And it's so small, it's just a couple trees and a stump to sit on. That's a really cool spot. I'm gonna have to find out the name of
Yeah,
that too.
I don't think I've come across that one.
That's pretty cool. What do you think, Steve?
Being an avid cycler, I do this route often. I ride from Girard and Broad down to Spruce, take a right, go all the way to the river and School River Park. It's a really chill spot.
Very cool.
That's always a nice
so yeah.
To take us back to the River Wards, aside from Penn Treaty Park, I'm a huge fan of Norris Square.
Yeah.
Norris Square's got some basketball hoops, large open space. I wish they would mow the lawn and weed it a little bit more, but that place is just so cool. It's actually one of my favorite places to play bocce in the city
Wish
because
Sam was here.
it's
Yeah,
right.
where's Sam when you
right?
need him?
Shout out to Sam Hollerschutz, you the man. Bocce is so cool. I think it's fun because the weeds actually lend to a bit of a terrain park.
Yeah.
And you can like kind of like roll it off, and the local kids, none of them have ever seen bocce before. So when you start playing, they'll come up to you and they're like, "What are you playing?"
Yeah.
And it's like, "Well, watch out because these balls will hurt you. they are heavy." But then you explain to them, and you go on and share the great game of bocce to the newer generations. Get them off their phones and into the courts playing bocce. Gotta love it. So yeah, that got a little weird. Just to close off on Penn Treaty Park, like we said, the playground grand opening is on Flag Day, June 14th at noon. But there's some other really cool upcoming events. Let's see. We have 80s Night on June 9th featuring the class of 84. So there's going to be a lot of 80s dance music. It'd be a great time. It's usually a great community event. We got July 1st, Freedom Rocks the Park, free concert. July 22nd, Nature's Heroes. We've got movie night on July 26th. So much great stuff coming up. So be sure to check out the Friends of Penn Treaty Park. You got the full slate of summer events right there on their pages. We hope to see you out there. It's a great time. We're done with the news for the night. Let's move on to Pat's picks. Get some local music before we close out this week's show. What you got for us, Pat?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of good shows going on this week. I'd say probably the main event for me would be Saturday at Union Transfer. It's going to be Girlpool, Ian Sweet, and Lexi. So Girlpool is not from Philly, but they spent a few years in Philly. I think they spent, like 2012 maybe to about 2 years ago, 2015. They decided to move to New York, and they've been kind of killing it in New York. But they definitely left an impact here. They were a big part of the scene, and they landed a deal with Anti Records, which is pretty big.
Yeah,
it's actually very big, and they just released their first Anti release a couple of weeks ago in early May. It's called Power Plant, and they actually brought in drums this time. They were known for just being simply guitar and bass, and then really nice harmonies on top of that. So they threw in drums, and it honestly worked really well. It was something they had to do to really kind of reinvent themselves.
As a drummer, I would say they're pretty essential.
Yeah, open up some possibilities. But they were kind of fun when it was just guitar and bass. It was very unique. But so they'll be coming to Union Transfer, and they'll be playing with Ian Sweet. Ian Sweet is another band out of New York. They're doing some pretty cool stuff. And then there's Lexi. I don't know Lexi, but they're in good company. So
That's my dog's name.
Yeah,
was my dog's name.
So you should go to the show, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Nah. So that's Saturday at Union Transfer, Girlpool, Ian Sweet, and Lexi. Next on the list, we got Philomoka on Friday night. It's going to be a record release show for 2-Inch Astronaut out of Silver Spring, Maryland. Playing alongside them is going to be Leapling, Juniper, and No Thank You. So 2-Inch Astronaut, they're pretty interesting. Definitely got some Fugazi, Jawbox, post-punk vibes. Also along more kind of fuzz poppy stuff too. Definitely kind of moving in a more pop direction with their newest album, which is titled "Can You Please Not Help." It's kind of a cool album art. It's just like a turtle on its back. I think it's cute. So they'll be headlining that show at Philomoka on Friday. It's gonna be a pretty diverse show. Leapling is very poppy, kind of cheery. So there'll be kind of a diversion from the sad post-punk vibes. In addition, there's Juniper and No Thank You.
Shout out to Juniper. My brother's friend is in that band.
Oh, really?
So I have to give them a shout out. I know them actually.
Yeah, they're
go ahead.
Good, yeah. So aside from that, that's again Friday at Philomoka. 2-Inch Astronaut, Leapling, Juniper, and No Thank You. So next on the list is tonight, actually, at Kung Fu Necktie. If you're looking for a show, there is Cherry, Sun Organ, Ernie, and also, again, No Thank You, playing the show as well. They're making the list twice, even though I had never heard of them until this morning.
Nice.
Nice. They're coming up the ranks fast. But yeah, no, I listened to them, and they're worth listening to. So yeah, the main draw for me is in the show is definitely Sun Organ. They kind of characterize themselves as dream punk, which is like a very apt description in my opinion. There's a lot of like multi-tracked vocals, a lot of distortion, very like it's very very interesting stuff.
You had me at dream punk.
Yeah, dream punk. It's like dream pop but punk. So aside from those two, Cherry's going to be playing some sweet, sweet bedroom pop tunes, and you're probably going to expect full band for the show, considering the other bands on deck. I can't really imagine Sun Organ without full band. So that is tonight again, Kung Fu Necktie, Cherry, Sun Organ, Ernie, and No Thank You. As far as that is it for the picks, but we got some music news.
Yeah, what's
there's
going on?
a big announcement this morning. Kurt Vile is going to be doing a joint tour with Courtney Barnett. So
Kurt Vile with Riverwards
yes,
Connects.
Kurt Vile of Northern Liberties, I believe he
Yeah.
is located in now, and he's got the mural up on Front Street in
Right.
Fishtown. So yeah, he's a local boy. And then Courtney Barnett from Australia, not a local girl by any means, but I'm personally a fan of both of these musicians. I know that both of them get their respective detractors. I'm not quite sure why. I think that they're both very talented and interesting musicians, but that's the way it is. But a lot of people are excited about this tour. They're going to be having a rotating band consisting of members past and present of Sleater Kinney, Warpaint, The Violators, and Wild Beasts, among others. So they're going to have a really...
Indie rock supergroup.
Yeah, it's honestly going to be kind of a supergroup tour.
Better than Broken Social Scene.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know about that, but we'll see. I like Broken Social Scene a lot, so so the Philly show for that tour is going to be at the Tower Theater in Upper Darby on Friday, November 3rd. And I know that there was also an album that they were recording together,
Right.
Kurt Vile and Courtney Barnett, so we'll see about that. If that is a thing, indeed.
And then we have one little bit of news
yeah.
revolving around our featured artist.
Yeah, the featured artist this week, Nara. I decided to feature Nara this week because they are a band newly formed. They just released their debut LP. It's self-titled a couple weeks ago. And I'm a big fan. They're basically a reincarnation of Marietta, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. Just a bunch of Temple boys decided to make some sad, twinkly emo pop tunes. So
Right up your alley.
that is like Marietta is like me in the form of a band, and so they broke up after releasing their second album. Marietta broke up, that is, after recently releasing their second LP, As It Were, in fall 2015. That was a very sad day for me. But Nara is back with 3 of the 4 former members of Marietta, along with 2 new members. It's really interesting stuff. Has a bit more edge than Marietta. It's not quite as anthemic, but it's got a bit of a harder edge.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Lescalet, the main vocalist, is definitely exploring his vocal range in a lot of ways that he didn't in Marietta. So I'm still digesting it after the first few listens, but I'm really excited to see where they go with it,
Cool.
and I'm glad to have them back.
Well, and right here is a tune from Nara.
Nara.
And
Yeah. I
this
believe
one
so.
is called, we'll go Maddie's Song.
Yeah, I like Maddie's song.
And I just wanted to thank all our listeners one more time for listening to Spirit News Radio, your home for hyperlocal news in the communities of North Philadelphia. Check us out on www.spiritnews.org, in print at the Spirit of the Riverwards, and right here on WPPM every Wednesday night from 6 to 7. Till next week, folks, be the mouse that roared.